Never give up. You're about to listen to the Darla Z, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Award-winning singer-songwriter Darla Z brings you her special guests who share intimate stories about their lives, how they became successful in their chosen fields, how they learned from their mistakes, and how we can all make a positive difference in the lives of others. Welcome to Live from the Hollywood Room with your host, Darla Z.
Hi, this is Darla Z. I'm coming to you live from the Hollywood Room. And I've got my favorite doctor in the world, Dr. Britta Ostermeyer, who is here joining us and to give us her beautiful knowledge on a very, very important topic that we'll get to in a second. But hello, Dr. Ostermeyer.
Hello, Darla, and thank you for having me. I'd love to come to your show.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm very happy to have you. And we talked about you're a forensic psychiatrist. You have a wealth of knowledge on the brain and its inner workings and things like that. But when we discussed with your staff the subject matter for today's show, I think it's something very dear to your heart as well as my heart, and that's the mental health of children. So today's show topics will be, and hopefully we'll get to all three, and if not, we'll just have to talk longer. But we've got issues on discussions on bullying with children, on social media and the appropriateness of that with children, and then your body image and particularly with young girls who suffer with those kind of phobias or issues. I don't even know what you would call it, but those are our three topics for today. And I'm kind of interested in which one you want to tackle first.
Let's start with social media, perhaps first, which is an important topic to all of us. It really impacts our life everywhere, whether we are adults, but when we are children, when we talk about children, of course, it can be so much more impactful because adults have more tools, more experience, and can filter better and can also reason better of images that we're receiving that might be idealized, that might be changed and worked on. We know how proportions of bodies should be and can be. So adults have a bit of an easier time than children.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the shows I did was with a beauty expert, Peter Lamas, and we were talking about his daughter who felt like he was always making all these beautiful stars and all this stuff. And she's like, I can't compete with these people. And that she sees on social media. And he's like, you don't understand. That's not how they start out. That's with a lot of help. So, and that's, one of the things, how do you explain to a young girl, 12, 11, 10, that sees these beautiful images on social media? How do you explain that that's not something that they need to idolize? They need to be, their selves worth is what they should care about. And how do you prevent them thinking they got to live up to that standard?
That's a very important point you're bringing up, because we all know pictures are very impactful to us. And as many say, pictures say 1,000 words. And we adults have more of a reference of what's normal. So it's important, in particular, when we have young girls exposed to these over-idealized images of really unrealistic bodies that are portrayed, that we inform them and repeat the message and allow them also to understand and perhaps educate them with educational material and by researching the internet to show having a chest like this and having a waist like this, and it's not normal. It is something that cosmetically was achieved. And then also these days, people use multiple filters to distort, change, beautify, over idealize their bodies. And lately I've been starting on internet on browsing on Facebook. I actually see pictures now where media creates awareness of, here, this is this lady, how she looks, and this is what she portrays, pictures and posts in social media to create awareness. It's very important, because it's not realistic to chase these very distorted, over idealized images.
That's really true. And and so when I'm thinking also about social media, just, kind of going back to the basics, do you have an opinion on what age a child should, like a parent should allow access to social media based on their susceptibility and their mental health and their youth?
The general advice is, the longer you can postpone it, the better you're off, because the younger a child, the more susceptible the more easily they are impacted, impressed by these images. So experts say an age around age 13. However, one should factor in maturity. And they also say, if you can postpone it and keep your child away for longer, it's better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And so many times my husband and I will go out to dinner and we'll be sitting there or lunch, and you've got a family over there and 3 of the kids are sitting there and they don't even talk to each other. And so we have a rule. We don't bring phones out when we're eating. And I wish more families would see the importance of the interaction, because you're losing the ability to communicate with each other if your nose is stuck in the phone all the time.
Yes, you're bringing up another important point, to have a family media/phone plan. And it is advisable to even have a plan before kids even sit and do like this clicking. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics actually has samples and a form one can use to create a family media plan. And that's very important. And the earlier we can introduce the family, the children to such plan and discuss it, the better.
And like, for instance, with this plan, would you say that there would be parameters on maybe not allowing their cell phones in their bedrooms at night? I mean, do they have type of plans where it gives you a structure of how you're supposed to do it with your kids?
Absolutely. You're bringing up a very important point. Bedroom, sleeping, getting up to school, and phone, sitting under the bed and clicking and having the bright light, and not sleeping until 2 or 3 in the morning. It's very important to keep phones out of the bedroom. It is advised to keep social media exposure around 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. We do have a study that says that kids who are exposed to over 3 hours of social media every day have double the risk of poor mental health, including depression and anxiety. So it's concerning.
That is a major difference. Double the exposure is a major difference. And I think, we'll tackle this later with the bullying, because I think also with social media comes that exposure to girls or boys or being awful to each other. And it's not like when I was growing up where you had it just, at school or wherever. you have it online and you can be anonymous, and
Yeah.
that's really scary. It's scary. And how do you think parents can filter out parts of social media that may be detrimental, or how can you explain the risk of exploitation of a young person that's online?
So one way is to, first of all, when younger children ask for social media access, maybe to give them sort of a dummy phone that doesn't have internet connectability, so they feel they have something in their hand because they see everybody having something. When it comes to them using, then being on the sideline, meaning limiting the type of access, having perhaps in the beginning no free internet access, but narrow it down to a couple of apps that are more child appropriate, that they can browse and click. And then as the teen gets older, adding rather some apps. Now, the important thing is to realize social media is not a babysitter. We can't have the kids sit and click and we do something else. We'll have to role model good behavior, that we're not sitting as adults and clicking. And we need to remain highly interactive with our kids. We need to dialogue. We need to inquire. Perhaps we entice them to research something. We give them some questions, and when they're old enough, when they're teenagers, and they browse on Google to find answers, and asking what they see, inviting them to share concerning images or things that come across. So keeping an open line of communication is priceless.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And in my mind, in our criminal law experience that we've had for years, I always think about the pedophiles or the nut jobs that are getting access to our kids, and how do you they, like you mentioned earlier, when you're an adult you can recognize, and some people still don't even recognize that it's a potential predator. But when you're a child and you see a picture of say it's a young girl, and you see it's a good looking guy that's trying to get a hold of you, it could not be a good looking guy. It could be a 70-year-old weirdo that's down the street.
Yeah.
You have to, how do you tell parents to, without having to get into all the awfulness of the world at that stage in their life, how do you let them know that they should be on the lookout for that?
Absolutely. It's like when you have social media, you have to watch your kids, and you have to watch social media exposure of what they're doing. So to talk about kids and ways these pedophiles actually lure children into chat rooms, isolate them, become intense with them, and then may actually ask that body parts be shown, stepping it up to an in-person meeting. We need to explain to our teens about this. There isn't a way around, and we need to monitor. And monitoring is hard because who wants their mom or their dad or their uncle at their bedside, or at well, we're not supposed to be in bed, but at the coffee table in the living room, and sit there and say, hey, what are you browsing? I want to see everything. That's not going to work. But discussion up front, but also checking, limiting access, looking at browser material, and being really on top. You can't allow your children to browse unlimited on the internet while you're doing something else that's important in terms of household or your job. They are browsing. You have to be vigilant. You have to be aware. You have to inquire and discuss, and be all the way with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's kind of like when I was researching this topic, that it was what we faced, when we were growing up, when TV came out and TV started getting more and more, you got off the regular, oh, I'm really dating myself. But when you had 3 channels.
Yes, I remember.
Okay. And now, you have 900 and you
Yeah.
can put your parental controls on TV, which is nice, even though now PG-13 is still awful in my opinion. But you can do parental controls on that. So by golly, yeah, you need to be doing that on your social media. You need to be putting parental controls or being aware of it. And I don't even know, do you know if there is tools or apps, or is there a way to do that?
And there is. There are apps that can be downloaded. You can block browsing, but once you browse, it becomes harder to control. Another thing is we need to limit time exposure.
Yeah.
The concern is twofold. It's the time teens, young girls in particular, spend browsing and getting impressed by images, but it's also that time is taken away from other healthy activities and behaviors. That's actually what our Surgeon General said last year, why he wanted a warning on social media for teens, because teens who are involved heavily, they give up on after school activities, such as sports, such as belonging with other teens, doing some crafting, music, exploring, traveling. They give up important activities that are physical, that are knowledge-based, and that are experiences to grow up. And that's a big concern.
Yep, I agree with that. And I love that you said that, because I'm a big, I have a stepson and he ended up becoming world champion of boxing, but and a lawyer, believe it or not. But I was always thankful that he was involved in sports. When I grew up, I was involved in music and, played an instrument, and you've got to have those other hobbies. Otherwise, their nose is going to be right there in that phone, and that's not good.
You're saying it as a parent, you want to look at the portfolio of activities of your kid. And even there ain't a portfolio, but going to school, coming home, and being busy, then there's something wrong. Then you really want to work with your youth of, hey, what about a sport? What do you like? What about dancing? What about music? So you want to see a teen, a young person grow, that they have their school activities and they're doing well, and they have their extracurricular activities. They have preoccupations outside browsing and clicking on their devices. That's very important.
Well, and and you're saying this, and it's not like, I mean, me, when I say it, it's nothing. I'm just, a regular person. But when you're saying this as a forensic psychiatrist with your background and all that, these people, our audience members, should listen. It's extremely important. And you're saying the truth, and you're giving exceptional advice on today's life with social media, and how it's evolved from when we grew up. Let's see. And then this one I put on our questions. How can parents lead by example? And it's kind of, you touched on that. You can't be sitting there. I know I definitely pick up my phone too much. And my husband said, "What are you looking at?" Well, my email, or looking at my text messages, and so if they see us doing it, then they're going to inculpate us. Nope, that's not the right word. If they see us doing it, they're going to mimic us, and they're going to do the same thing that we do, because we're not showing any restraint.
We are serving as role models, and we parents and adults have to be part of the family media plan.
I really like that, the family media plan. I would like to perhaps, if I can, if we can find something, I'd love to put something, this is just going to be edited out, but something in the show that that Les gives them a link to where they can go and see that information that you're talking about. That would be awesome. Okay, well, do you have anything else you want to say about social media, or do you want to move on to our next topic?
No, we can move on. And the other topics actually relate to social media as well.
They do. Okay, so now, Dr. Ostermeyer, I appreciate everything you said about social media, and it does bleed into this next topic, which is bullying, and that is so awful. The thing is, and when we were talking just a second ago about leading by example, you cannot turn on the media nowadays where you don't have people screaming at each other on the news. They're belittling each other. It's just a new world where we don't respect each other whatsoever. So our adult people are not acting, they're not good examples. So wow. Then you've got the situation that kids mimicking it in the school where they think it's okay because they see it all the time. Um, so I don't know how. First, I guess, how can a parent, just taking it simply, how can a parent recognize clinical signs of a child being bullied?
Yes, when a child is already bullied, which unfortunately is for 20% of our children in adolescent age is true. So it's 1 in 5. It's a significant number.
It is.
There are unfortunately changes in behavior. So such child will change behavior in the following way. They may not be on top of their schoolwork. Their grades may be slipping. They may not look as involved and enthusiastic, and rather down. They may eat less or more. They may sleep less. They may miss appointments. They may drop out of activities. So changes in their behavior are a concern. And whenever there's a change in somebody's ways and likings and acting and looking, it needs to prompt an inquiry. What's going on? How come you're not going to play soccer anymore? I saw grades that are concerned. Hey, fill me in. I'm your parent. I'm here to help, but you need to let me in. And it warrants a dialogue. Also, it is helpful to talk to children about bullying and tell them that if you are exposed to somebody making negative, rude, demeaning, humiliating remarks about your look, if somebody tries to intimidate you online or threaten you in front of others, if somebody is bullying you physically by slapping you or pushing you, I, as a parent, I need to know. You need to tell me, because this is wrong. This is very bad, and it will be stopped, and it can be stopped at large when parents and school officials are aware.
And working together.
Yes.
I would think that it would be scary for a child to tell their parent, I'm being bullied, because you're afraid of the ramifications that it will get back to the bullier, and it will make it worse. So the schools have to have something in place, I think. I don't know. Do you have a thought on what they can do, what a parent can do if they recognize it and they've figured it out? What's their next step?
You're bringing up an important point, retaliation. So schools usually do have a hardcore rule against retaliation. Well, that doesn't mean it's not violated by the perpetrator, but you said it earlier, parents have to work with school authorities and leadership, and to protect the involved child, physically separate the bullier from the victim, from the child that's being bullied. And if it's via social media, it needs to be separated. The parents, if there are parents even of the person who is the perpetrator, they need to be involved. And it's very important. My message is, as a parent, don't give up. If you think your child gets bullied and you go to school officials and they try to minimize what you have to report, and you believe that they're minimizing, and you believe this is going on, you stick to your guns. You don't stop talking. You keep on going. You may have to involve a lawyer. You may have to involve authorities above the school. There are ways to report schools. And you have also in your pediatrician or your primary care provider an ally. Your child may see a therapist, and that therapist can be an ally. So you do not give up rallying support and awareness. And this is all with a goal: it must stop. Bullying is toxic, very toxic, and it's closely related to suicidal thinking and kids actually completing suicide.
That's unfortunately, that's absolutely correct. And when I was thinking from my legal background, I was thinking as you were talking, document everything, send emails, put it in writing, text messages, everything that you can do to show, so their backs are against the wall and they have to do something because you have documented it.
Absolutely. Keep evidence, screenshots of social media, of phone messages, screenshot and save it up. It must stop, because bullying is so detrimental to a child's self-esteem. It goes to the point that they don't think they have a right to live anymore. They don't think they're worthy to be alive. They start indoctrinating this negativity. And even if your child does not commit suicide, it impacts grades, it impacts happiness, it leads to distortions, to poor mental health, and your child may drop out of school, your child may not develop and build a career your child could have without this toxicity in your child's life.
Right. And absolutely. And we've all heard this horror stories of the kids that have indeed committed suicide. So when you email that school, when you go to, make recordings of conversations, keep your, document your communications with anybody that you're doing to report it, document it. So do you think that kids getting involved with extracurricular activities, we talked about it with social media, but do you think that can help keep them being a subject of bullying?
Having extracurricular activities that are positive and are liked, and they might be to the liking of the talents of one's child, are very, very positive and good. And they can help build skills, help build accomplishments, help build a career, and help to build actually well-being, a sense of accomplishments, and a sense of good self-esteem. Absolutely.
Well, and then they make friends that, when you make a friend, they'll stand up. If there's a true friend, they'll stand up for you, you know?
That's another important topic: bystander education. We need to all, as adults and children, be aware if we are a bystander to a bullying, and that we need to intercept by the means appropriately as we can, or at least listen, and then be willing to report back as an eyewitness what we heard and seen to authorities. Never just stand there, do nothing, say nothing, and go your own way. Bullying is absolutely very, very fundamentally detrimental to a person.
Right. It is. And so, boy, I hope people are listening and they realize that how important it is for them to be aware and to report. There's a couple of people that have brought up to me when I brought up the subject of bullying in children, that the kids that are in a lower income family and they perhaps are on Title I assistance. And for Title I assistance, that would mean food stamps or state assistance where they get help with the funding for their school meals. And then at school, they have a little card they have to get. So everybody there in the class, in the school cafeteria, whatever, knows that they are getting financial assistance. To me, that is awful. And it's setting it up, these kids, to get bullied for that reason alone. What would you recommend for schools to do to make it more private or something, so that's not as so embarrassing for a child?
You're absolutely correct. It would be much better if the school would keep an account that's outside the cafeteria and check with parents, kids, and perhaps check those cards outside the cafeteria, more in a counselor's office or a teacher or a school official with the family or the kid by themselves, and sign them up so it's not visible in the cafeteria to everybody. You are correct. Bullying happens at large about somebody's looks, but somebody's means, when they are from limited backgrounds, it happens too, and it's common.
Yeah, it is. So maybe we can work on getting a law passed, or go to the school superintendents and try to implement a program where that stops. Because I think it's common that they, like you said, that they will bully just because of they're poor.
I would actually encourage parents to inquire with school and ask whether this kind of checking and account keeping could be done in privacy.
Yep, I think that's a good solution. So moving on, even though I could spend the entire day talking to you, as I love it so much.
Thank you.
But moving on to body image discussions, and we have touched on that with social media. And when you said that people are using filters and things like that, part of me says, wow, I wish I could learn how to do that. Because I would love that as a performer to get rid of my wrinkles and make myself, with the V shape and all that. But I haven't figured it out. But so with the girls, what do you think is the biggest source, the biggest issue in body image with girls, young teen girls?
Yes, it's girls more so than boys are susceptible to body images and beauty standards that are totally off the chart, unrealistic, unattainable, and social media portrays it in many ways to those girls. Hey, this is how we need to look like. This is how you need to look like. And young girls, the younger, the more impact, incorporate that and then actually strive to look like that and think they have to look like that. And of course, whenever you're trying to do something that's unrealistic, you're gonna fail. But when you fail, girls often take it out on themselves and become sad, down, depressed, anxious, and this can impair sleep, and this can, as the next step, lead to disorderly eating in an effort to...
Okay, wait a minute. We're having Yeah, our internet connection is not good right now. I don't want to
Yeah,
miss anything that you're saying.
are we back?
Yeah, can you start
Yeah,
that
yeah,
over
yeah.
again? And I can't
Yeah.
remember what the question was.
It's especially the younger the girls, the more impactful it is. Girls are being shown in social media certain unattainable beauty standards, unattainable body shapes, and they're indoctrinated believing they need to look like that and step up to that. Of course, whenever you're trying to do something that's unattainable, you're going to fail. So therefore, they're failing because they're not looking like those images on social media, and they're taking it out on themselves, that they become they feel sad about themselves, they feel inapt, they have self-esteem images, and then they strive to look like the images. And one intervention they often consider is starting to change their eating habits and move into disorderly eating, and skipping meals or skipping certain food, dieting, taking diet pills, taking laxatives. And this can go over eventually to a full-blown eating disorder.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, it was bulimia and the other one that started with not anemia, but
Anorexia nervosa.
anorexia, which is what Karen Carpenter,
Yes,
you know,
I remember.
I was a big fan of hers. But nowadays you've got all sorts of things that you can take besides throwing up or the other. And you're right. They see these unrealistic images. I think I saw it this morning. I'm not going to say the girl's name, but it was an article that I read that she made $43 million this year by posting on social media kind of risque photos of herself, and $43 million for just putting pictures of herself. Now, I saw her bottom was very enhanced and her breasts looked like they were enhanced and looked like her waist was shaved in. So I don't know what was real or what was not. But you have that coming out, $43 million. What little girl isn't going to think? I mean, it's kind of like when Pretty Woman came out and then, you know, oh, yeah, this is the hooker's life. Isn't it wonderful? It's great. You end up at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel and you're drinking champagne on the penthouse. No, it's not like that. So that's another issue. You have these people that are successful influencers that how do you keep your kid from thinking that that's the way of life when it's really not? They need to be doctors like you. They need to have their brains need to work. They need to think it's not about the way you look, it's about who you are as a person. Wow, how do you get them to think that?
Correct. In addition, one has to also educate, hey, this is how breasts look like. This is how a waist looks like. And this is how the bottom looks like. This is how hair looks like. And that over here, no, this is breast implants. This is butt implants. This is liposuction. This is fat freezing. And all these things one can do, plus filters. I mean, when you have a waist that's so tiny that I, as a physician, don't know how even the organs fit into that belly anymore, there's a filter.
Yeah.
Some actually,
it's really not funny. It's really not funny because
no,
it is so sad.
It is unhealthy. So educating that, look, a normal sized body is gonna have to have a belly for the organs to fit. You can't squeeze them. You're gonna get sick and ill.
I just want to say yay to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from my perspective of always thinking that, you know, I need to lose weight. but what I'm saying also, and you're saying the same thing, is that really you've got to build your child up, get them involved in activities, get them to know what's important in life, and get them away from this unrealistic nonsense that you can't achieve. You can't achieve it. I mean, it is impossible.
And that means commitment as an adult, as a parent. If you have children, they are commitment. You have to, they're not, it's not going to work by us leading our ways here, doing our activities, and then the children do something in parallel. We have to be involved with them. We have to guide them. We have to talk with them. We have to dedicate time towards interacting with them, playing with them, games, doing sports, doing trips, tours, dinners, cooking, activities, knitting, playing soccer, riding a bicycle. It is a time commitment that we as parents have to have in order to guide them and not let social media raise them.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not willing to put in the time with a child, you shouldn't be having a child, personally.
It becomes hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand there's a lot of, you know, there's single family households where the women have to work, and I understand that. But you're right, even spending 30 minutes in the evening with them reading a book or something positive is a great
Absolutely.
way.
And we have a lot of single parent homes. So it would be great if their grandmas, grandpas, cousins, neighbors, other safe, good family members or friends who can participate with activities. Perhaps one is a single mom and has to work, but maybe one has a sister who can pick up the little girl once or twice a week for an activity. So we've seen that in growing up, that growing up is better when there is a family engaging, and the elder ones take care of the junior ones, and the junior ones later on can, when they're grown up, can help the elderly. That's the best, safest way of growing up, and we need to try and also know we're not alone as a single parent.
Yep, I agree with that. I to this day, I still remember when I was in high school that my mom would come pick me up and just take me out to lunch, and we'd get pizza together for lunch, you know, a couple times a month or something. And I remember that now, and I think to myself now how wonderful that was. Of course, I'm very close to my mom now, so that's the payback. You know, mom did it for me, and so now I want to take care of her and I want to be with her. So it's worth it when you put the time in. Just and then it's a lousy issue, but now, you know, there are kids that engage in self-harm. And first of all, how can you recognize that they're doing that? You know, for instance, like cutting, and which I didn't even know that cutting was an issue, but kids will do that. And that means they'll cut themselves with a razor blade or whatever. Um, how do you recognize someone is doing your child is doing that, and how on earth do you solve that problem?
Yes, very important safety topic. Unfortunately, children are exposed if they seek the videos, especially on YouTube, which is the favorite social media for youth. There are videos on how to harm yourself and daring videos, and other
Wow.
kids do nearly impossible stuff. Again, being involved with one's child, knowing what they're watching, knowing how they feel, knowing what they're up to, and also knowing when they're hurting and understanding them are priceless. But that means involvement. That means time commitment. That means open channels of communication. And if there are concerns over self-harm, then engaging with one's pediatrician, looking up and engaging with a counselor could be first step. Sometimes one has a school nurse, and one can check in with the school nurse, and the school nurse can then engage with the child, the student, and evaluate, talk, look at the areas on the body, and then from there, if there is a concern, then it warrants mental health treatment, at least in the beginning, a counselor. Sometimes there can be issues of self-harm because one has low self-esteem from being abused, being bullied, or often there is an additional depression, and sometimes when appropriately indicated and absolutely necessary, a psychiatrist may need to be involved, a pediatrician who may start one of the medicines that are first line, well tolerated, and FDA approved for child depression. A medicine for depression may need to be started as well.
What if you're back to the single mom or single parent and you can't afford hiring a psychiatrist? What do you do?
Then I would say, first of all, have your child get attention by a school nurse if there is one. Second, might the child be eligible for Medicaid? And if a mom is making very limited salary, and we're dealing with a child, children are often eligible, and then to enroll with Medicaid, there are specific places to go to enroll, but also most hospitals help with enrollment. So then once one has Medicaid, actually, it's very good. Oklahoma Medicaid is now administered by 3 commercial insurance plans, and then the child will have access to child medical as well as child behavior / psychiatry.
All right. Well, that is very good to know. The parents, you parents out there listening, you're not alone. There are people that can help you, and there are warning signs like the doctor has mentioned that you need to be watching out for. And then what do we want? We want, a world and a family of peace and love and kindness with each other. And so let's all work on that. Let's try to be good to each other, get our noses out of the phones and the computers and spend some family time. Well, thank you so much, Doctor. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your vast wisdom with us. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so very much. I'm honored to be your guest, and I'm very happy to connect with our community and get information out to everybody.
Excellent. Thank you again.
You have been listening to Darla Z, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Be sure to check out all our shows and download our app at www.bootleggersmusicgroup.com. The Bootleggers Music Group is dedicated to bringing you uplifting, educational, and inspiring shows for the love of God, one tune, and one show at a time. Be sure to visit Darla Z at www.darlaz.com to learn more about your award-winning host. Thanks for listening to or watching the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Executive producer, Paul E. Jones.